First requested to me by Hunter Brown and directed and co-written by Pete Docter, Inside Out is a 2015 Pixar animation film that accounts the story of young Riley and everything going on within her mind. Riley is an only child and moves to San Francisco with her mom and dad at the age of 11 and has trouble coping with the move at first. There's 5 emotions that help dictate her behaviors and decision making, and these 5 emotions all have something different to offer to Riley's personality, and they include joy, sadness, anger, fear, and disgust. And all these emotions attempt to provide Riley with the most well-rounded and satisfying life possible. But one day, something goes terribly wrong, and the 5 emotions are forced to solve an entirely new problem for Riley. Alright, so Inside Out was a film that I figured I need to watch again, because I know that it's beloved by almost everyone and hailed as one of the best Pixar films to date, top 5 for most people at least. And well, for me, I remember watching it back in 2015 and thinking it was alright, but not one of Pixar's best like everyone else was saying. I enjoyed it, but I didn't fall in love with it like many others did. And when I watched it again yesterday, I still feel pretty much the same way. I think that there are exceptional moments in this film, and other moments, and even long stretches of time actually, where it just loses me. Basically anything that has Riley in it or addresses her actually facing real problems, relatable problems that almost every viewer can understand and empathize with her on, that's when I like it. When I don't like it is when something happens that sends 2 of the emotion characters off from the rest of the group, and it separates them from the group in a separate plot line that sort of takes over the film, and they have to find their way back to the headquarters. That's kind of the whole plot line. This whole conflict just kind of lost me, and I found this act and general plot line to be kind of boring and emotionally dry. I think anytime that we actually see Riley and the effect that her emotions are actually having on her and the difficulty she's experiencing as an 11-year-old child dealing with a difficult move on top of other things, that's when the movie hooks me. It got me in the feels there because even though I've never had to deal with a difficult move specifically like that, there's plenty of other things that she's going through that I could relate to. Feelings of insecurity, trying to fit in and make friends, feeling like no one understands how you're feeling in general. These are all complex feelings and just things that kids go through that I think Pixar tackles pretty creatively and pretty effectively in Inside Out. The problem for me is that they don't always stick to it. This movie really got me in the feels, quite a bit actually. But like I said, it just loses me every time the 2 emotions go off on their own plot line and start trying to navigate their way to return to the control center and restabilize things for Riley. At this point, the film starts to focus too heavily on characters that, in my opinion, just aren't quite strong enough to stand on their own. For this plotline, you primarily follow joy and sadness, played by Amy Poehler and Phyllis Smith respectively, who perform the roles admirably, but are ultimately voicing characters that feel very uninspired. It's not like these characters don't have distinct personalities, they certainly do, but I just feel like they're not that interesting, and they can't effectively carry the story along as a buddy duo the way the film asks them to. But like I mentioned, I do have to give Pixar credit for creating a really compelling and creative story here. Pretty much every Pixar film in existence delivers something for everyone. It delivers fun, it delivers silly, but it also delivers a story that has way more depth to it than almost all of its animated competitors. The premise of the story itself is very cool. Emotions that are pulling the strings within your mind that dictate how you respond to the world around you is a very interesting concept, and it's mostly pretty well executed. I did continually think to myself that this is a very cool concept for an animated film, and it tackles some important issues that almost every kid faces at some point. The film certainly has to be recognized for its creativity and how it just approaches complex subject matter. However, here's something else I didn't quite love. There's a character named Sadness that I previously mentioned, played by Phyllis Smith, who gave off some real Finding Dory vibes to me. Because she's basically a killjoy, and it's all about being sad and making Riley sad and all that, and I just found her character to be very tough to deal with in large doses. And there is a purpose to her, a bigger picture to the character that's made clear in the 3rd act. But man, every time she was talking on screen, I was just like, can we please cut to another emotion, because she just really started to wear on me. And I think I'd be fine with her in small doses, but she plays a very big role in the 2nd act and onward, and I just felt like her character didn't contribute anything positive to the overall enjoyment level of the film. And considering this is an animated kids film first and foremost, I think I'd be pretty remiss if I didn't at least discuss the brand of comedy with you. Because I think it works pretty well for the most part, and I consider it a pro, because it definitely is well written for the most part and witty more often than not. There's definitely cases where it can get a little too kiddish with some of the emotion characters just sort of doing over-the-top things that are designed to be sort of slapstick and appease to a kid's sense of humor, but generally speaking, I did find myself chuckling fairly often. And the comedy does help balance out some pretty serious tones to make the film more versatile and of course more family friendly. But overall, I don't love Inside Out. It's not one of my favorite Pixar films, but I do think it's alright. It's not a bad film, and I totally understand people that like it more than I do. But for me, there's just a couple things holding it back from being great. Either way, let's take a look at the pros cons list. So as for the pros, I thought Inside Out executes a rich and creative premise, has strong coming of age themes that are ripe with emotion, and also offers some quality comedy to balance the film out. As for the cons, I think the film loses some momentum for most of Act 2 and a little bit after that as well, and some of the characters just aren't the strongest. Overall, I'm going to give Inside Out a 7.5 out of 10, and generally recommend you check it out wherever you can if you're looking for a well-rounded Pixar film. To me, this isn't one of their best, but it's still solid enough. So have you guys seen Inside Out? What did you think of it? And if not, let me know why not. And also let me know your favorite Pixar film. Still Toy Story 3 for me. Either way, that's all for now. This is WillFoxification signing off. See you in the next review.